weekly for May 18th. Will joins me so that I'm not alone. Hey, Will.
How's it going?
Good, man. I know you got a Mad Men finale to get to, so we got to squeeze a podcast in before that kicks in, right?
That's right.
You're a big Mad Men guy?
Yeah. It's probably my favorite show other than The Wire.
Yeah? You can relate to Mad Men?
Definitely. Yep. I was born in the 1960s. I'm white, extraordinarily handsome, very rich.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just think that show kind of took a dive after the first 3 seasons, I want to say. But hey, to each his own, man. I heard I haven't caught up yet. I'm on like the first episode of the second half of the season. But apparently it gets pretty dark, so I'm looking forward to that.
Definitely.
Maybe I'll start that after this podcast too.
Yeah.
But hey, we're not here to talk about Mad Men or The Wire. We're here to talk about Dwayne Casey, our favorite head coach, the most successful head coach in Raptors history. Everybody loves him, except like 90% of the fan base right now. And some news came out this week that Dwayne Casey has not been fired. And that's been kind of projected into news that he's going to be retained. And there's a lot of chatter which says that is likely to be the case, Dwayne Casey being retained. How do you feel about that?
I just think it's weird, right? He's in the last year of his guaranteed deal. The Raptors have a team option on him in 2016-17. So this is essentially his last year. Most coaches don't coach with only 1 year left on their deal. And then apparently the Raptors reportedly want to change up his assistants, and they want to bring in a guy like Monty Williams. So it seems like there's already such a huge fire under Dwayne Casey's ass, and Masai's not only going to keep him there, but he's going to add more wood. I don't know. I could see why they did it, but I mean, I think that there are better coaches out there than Dwayne Casey, and I think that if Masai had the chance to get those coaches, he should have done so, or he should do so. Yeah.
So this idea of retaining him kind of speaks to the fact that maybe the roster overachieved in terms of regular season win total under him, and that he needs to be given some credit for getting what he got out of them. Because towards the end of the season, we saw that how flawed this roster really was and how many holes it had in it. And maybe that 49 win is seen as, I can't believe Dwayne Casey got 49 wins out of this bunch. And I think maybe he's kind of basking in the sun from that from that win total. And maybe the idea here is that Masai doesn't have access to better coaches at this point, at least. So he's going to go with the option of just sticking with what he has and kind of putting the blame of the postseason failures on more the players than Casey, even though a lot of the fan base disagrees. And another angle to this is that you got to pay him. I mean, it's not just a question of do you like Dwayne Casey or not. It's a question of he's owed a certain amount of money. I think it's $3 million or something like that, and you can't just swallow that. That's a big chunk right there, and so that probably has something to do with it. But from a basketball perspective, like tactical X's and O's, like what have you done on the court for me lately? It's definitely surprising just because the way the Raptors exited the playoffs. And you kind of touched on it briefly, but this idea of the GM picking your assistant coaches, that's not normal, is it?
That looks pretty bad, right? I mean, especially if you're going to bring someone like Monty Williams, who honestly, his track record's very similar to Casey, I think. And definitely his coaching style is pretty similar to Casey. If you're going to bring him and just leave him on the bench on the sidelines, it's an awkward situation. Casey fucks up. Remember that time he didn't call timeout when Charlotte had the ball with like 26 seconds left at the end of the game?
Yeah.
Maybe he makes another one of those fuck ups, and then bam, the camera pans over. Monty Williams just sitting there in his pleated suits, ready to take charge at any point. So I mean, it's just an awkward situation.
It certainly is. Go ahead, finish your thought.
Yeah, no, it just occurred to me now. Like, it's a weird thing with Casey because, like, you're right. He definitely got the team to overachieve. I think everyone can agree on that between last season and the first half of this season. But then the final 50 games of the season happened, and then the playoffs happened. So it's sort of a question of who are the Raptors? Are the Raptors that magical team that sort of caught lightning in a bottle, basically in the calendar year of 2014, or are the Raptors 2015 Raptors, which are decidedly mediocre, if not actually pretty bad? And if if the Raptors are the 2015 Raptors, then I don't really see a point in keeping Dwayne Casey and hoping for that spark to happen again, right? So in the overall, like Dwayne Casey is the winningest by percentage-wise head coach in Raptors history, but linearity also matters, right? What happened most recently might be what's most real or most true about this team. And if you take that perspective and you think that 2015 Raptors are the actual Raptors, then there's almost no reason to keep Dwayne Casey unless Masai feels heat from management himself and he wants to keep Casey around as a scapegoat to fire at some point.
Yeah, I think he's kind of played that card. I mean, if you want to play the Casey scapegoat card, now is the time to play it. You can't hang that, like you can't hold on to that card and play it in like December next year. It doesn't work that way. Like this is the chance for you to blame the coach for what happened. But if you kind of hang on to him too long and things go south in November, December, and then you fire him, that looks bad on Masai. That's not playing the blame Casey card. That's like, man, I should have acted sooner card, if that's even a card.
Yeah.
And Jack Armstrong had an interview with Kian on the site, and now Jack Armstrong,
really good.
Yeah, he's a pretty toe the company line type of guy, and he kind of pointed that there might be 4 to 6 changes on the roster, like 6 changes he pointed to. And now that you bring Casey back, you've kind of said what happened on the last part of the season, the last 50 games in the playoffs is kind of the player's fault. And now you kind of force yourself into this the state where you have to bring in new players. Otherwise, it's just going to be rinse and repeat.
Yeah. I think I think Jack said like 5 or 7 new players will come in. I mean, I think that just makes sense really. Like you got guys like Landry Fields and Chuck Hayes. They're coming off the books. They're not coming back. Greg Stiesma, he's probably not going to be back. They'll get another guy. Hopefully a guy with a little bit more upside that they can leave on the bench and perhaps he develops into something. But yeah, if you're going to shuffle the players, but at the same time, like I think based on what Masai said at the year-end presser, sort of preaching patience again, it doesn't really sound like he's looking to make grand scale changes, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he said all the politically correct things saying that this is not acceptable, but it's, I don't think there's any big indication that there might be a significant change coming. I don't think the 3 core pieces, which I think are DeRozan, Lowry, and Valanciunas, at least I don't foresee one of them getting moved, or at least 2 of them getting moved, right? So,
I can see one of them getting moved. I can see him moving DeMar DeRozan or Kyle Lowry because I think if you bring both back. I just don't see how you can bring. I guess I know you can bring both back. I think Ujiri is opting for a bit more shakeup than just replacing the peripheral pieces like Terrence Ross, and I think he recognizes that DeRozan's value might be pretty high at this point, and Lowry's value is kind of low, and that might force him to act a certain way. And I also think there's going to be some interest in DeRozan on the market this year. I think that might move his hand more than him really wanting to trade DeRozan. He might get an offer that might be a little attractive.
Do you ever get worried that, like, because the trend of the league right now is moving away from players like DeRozan, right? All wing players are asked to do 3 things now: shoot, drive, and pass, right? And DeRozan, he has 2 of them. He can pass, he can drive really well, but he can't shoot. And I just can't imagine there are too many teams out there that are in the market for, admittedly, a very young, durable player, good character like DeRozan, but at the same time, the league might be moving in a direction away from his skill set. So the longer you hold on to DeRozan, the more the trend might go away from him, which might diminish his value. It's like inflation. That's
part of the reason I think that he might be motivated to move DeRozan, but also I think there might be a feeling around the league that you can get more out of DeRozan in a different system. I think he's shown that he's a good scorer. Yeah, he's ball dominant, but there's a lot of 2 guards who are ball dominant, and the teams might think, that guy's been in Toronto, like he's playing a certain way. I think he's got enough base skill that if he comes into our system, he can be better here. I just think there's always GMs that are willing to take that chance. So I wouldn't say he's a old school or old age NBA player who doesn't fit in today's system. Yeah, you're right, man. He can't shoot. He's shooting 28% from three, and that's got to change. But I think that can change, even though it's like year 5 for him. I still think he has room to grow there, and some GM will take a flyer on an all-star at the end of the day. That's what it is.
I mean, like, let's say he could, like, if he could actually shoot threes, like, I mean, like, if he can attempt, like, 3.5 threes per game and hit, like, 35% and maintain everything else, he's a, like, year after year all-star player, right? Because he's, you know, if you put him in the right system defensively, he's actually pretty solid. I think even now, defensively, he's okay in the Raptors, like, super shitty system. And if he can shoot threes, like, yeah, I mean, so that's a gamble, right? I mean, if you're going to trade DeRozan, then, and he develops somewhere else, it looks really bad, right? He has more of a chance to blow up on you than Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, and also you got to notice that with DeRozan, he's the offense initiator a lot of times. So the play always starts with him. And the Raptors' ball movement this year hasn't been that great at all. So once he does pass the ball off, there rarely has been enough ball movement that there's not enough swing sequences where he gets the ball back in an open position. I think that has something to do with it. The fact that he's the first point in the offense, the ball doesn't move that much. Chances are he's not getting enough clean looks because just the offense is a little stagnant. I'm not saying that excuses his poor shooting. I just think there are other GMs who might notice that trend and say, yeah, we can kind of fix that in our system.
It's also interesting because, like, next year is the last year of his deal because he's going to opt out of his player option in 2016-17 and get paid. So he's basically on an expiring contract.
Let's talk about the assistant coaches a little bit. So there's been a lot of talk that they're getting cleaned out. Nick Nurse, Bill Bano, Jesse Murmurs, Tom Sterner, Alex McKechnie, and Jamal Mahalela. I don't know who that is.
Jamal Mahala, I think.
Mahalela. It's something like that.
We apologize.
Yeah. I don't know who stays or who goes, man. But I know that Nick Nurse is supposed to be the offensive guy on this team.
Yep.
Right? And if there's one thing we can agree on, despite having a 4th-ranked offense in the league overall, you know, that offense was like 25th in the second part of the season there, and did not look good.
No, the offense stayed good. It's just there were no assists.
Sorry, let me say that again. Clutch offense. It fell down drastically that's the stat I'm looking at here. It fell down significantly, and at the end of the day, you're kind of measured on that. So I don't see how you can retain him and Dwayne Casey, because then the core of your assistant coaching philosophy is there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I feel like out of all the assistants, I mean, Nick Nurse probably holds the most value or is held in the highest regard around the league. Remember, like last year, the Golden State Warriors wanted to poach Nick Nurse off our staff. All right, to be their offensive coordinator. And the little bit I know about Nurse is that he made his fame in the D-League and internationally by running a Horns offense. And I think the Raptors ran the Horns more last year than this year. But I don't know. I think when the Raptors run Horns stuff, it's pretty good. I mean, you see a lot of it with DeRozan and Amir Johnson. The like little 2-man game that they do out of Horns is pretty effective. It just seems like as the season went on, they kind of moved away from that into sort of a more high pick and roll offense. But most of the high pick and rolls were actually just a fake so that the guards can get a head start at attacking the basket and shooting.
It's not a high pick and roll. It's just a high screen followed by the guard doing whatever he wants.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the Horns thing, I mean, it worked at the start of the season, but even in December, it wasn't working. We had a good record, not because of Horns, because Kyle Lowry was an absolute fire. I don't think it had anything to do with the Horns, and that thing worked for the first month and a half, where you had DeRozan like coming off those curls and back cutting people once in a while. But I think as the season progressed, that the effectiveness of that faded. Mm-hmm. But let's move on to who else we want to talk about here. Bill Bano, what does he do, Will?
I thought he was like the personal assistant for Jonas, right? I think.
Okay.
If that's the case, that's not great.
Okay, let's move on. Bill Bano, he's out. Jesse Murmur,
yeah, Jesse, I don't know. He's definitely my least favorite TV interview guy. Man. You know, when the interview at halftime.
Or best.
He's terrible.
Or best, if you look the other way. He always looks like he's just chewing gum, and he just got out of like a 12-hour shift out of Walmart. He's got that like 8 o'clock shadow, I don't know. I just don't know what he does. And he talks like he's like a 22-year-old thug.
Okay.
I don't know. He's got that I don't know. He's out. Okay.
Yeah, fire him. Yeah. No, we don't want 22-year-old thug.
Don't want him.
Get out of here.
Then we got Tom Sterner, who we should just retain just for the halftime interview.
Yeah. Why does if Tom Sterner gets fired, can TSN replace Mo Pete with him?
Oh man,
wouldn't everybody benefit from that?
Mo Pete struggles with sputtering sentences out one at a time. So I don't know if I want to see that. And then you got Alex McKechnie, who is I think he's back. He's the director of sports science. So he's a health guy, and the Raptors have been relatively healthy. The fact that he's got Amir Johnson's ankle still functional, needs to be given some credit there.
Amir played 75 games last year, and I swear to God, he was hurt the entire season. I don't know how Alex and the staff got him to play 75 games in the regular season, and then all 4 games in the playoffs. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's also some credit needs to be given there to Scott McCullough, who's the head athletic trainer. So something there.
Definitely.
And Jamal Mahlela, I don't know who you are, so you're probably getting fired. All right, so let's take a quick break, man, and we'll come back and we'll talk about some Jonas and I don't know, maybe some Mad Men. All right. Welcome back to part 2 of Raptors Weekly. Will's with me here, and if you recall, I don't have the time to come back and play the clip again from a few podcasts ago, but Will was very adamant that the Wizards were a much better matchup for the Raptors than the Bucks, and it turns out that Will was a little bit off in his prediction there. So Will, what happened there, man? Explain how wrong you were, and why you were so wrong, and how you're going to apologize about it.
Okay. Well, okay. I'll say this. The Wizards in the playoffs were not the Wizards in the regular season.
That's bullshit. Okay, go on.
No, I'm absolutely serious.
What a bullshit thing to say. That's like the Raptors saying, "Oh yeah, that wasn't us." Yeah, that's you. That's your uniform. That's your jersey. That's your home court. That's you, man. You just happen to suck in the postseason. That's all. But that's still you.
Ask any Wizards fan.
Yeah.
The Wizards played completely differently in the playoffs, which is, credit to them, right? They were able to step up, take it to another gear in the playoffs for the second straight year now, whereas the Raptors have not.
But see, again, see, when we were having this discussion before the playoffs began, nobody said, of course, if the Wizards played the exact same way they played in the regular season in the playoffs, they would lose. No shit. But the point being made at the time by Andrew and myself was that the Wizards have enough experience that they have a switch they can turn on in the playoffs and become better. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah. And credit to you guys. I think I don't want to say I glossed over that point, but I thought in terms of stylistically, the Bucks played a brand of basketball that I think matched up better against the Raptors than the Wizards did. Granted, given how shittily the Raptors played, I don't think it would have mattered. I think the Raptors would have lost maximum 5 games to the Bucks, which I think would have been exponentially more embarrassing. Yeah, I don't know. Look at the Wizards, man. Paul Pierce in the playoffs I think he shot 50% from deep, right? And he had fucking 3 game winners. Bradley Beal was amazing in the playoffs.
These are all things, man, which are not surprising. These are kind of easy to predict if you know who Paul Pierce is.
Was good in the playoffs.
Yeah, nobody saw that one coming. They'll give you that one though. Nobody saw Drew good.
Otto Porter magically turned into some second coming of Tayshaun Prince in the playoffs.
Defensively, I saw that coming, but offensively, it's a surprise. But yeah, I'm glad you're a little humbled. Are you?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just more bummed out about how badly the Raptors played.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it was entirely Washington. I think defensively, Washington and Milwaukee are probably on par. They play different styles, but I think in terms of effectiveness, they're actually relatively comparable. And I don't know, Milwaukee held their own against the Bulls, who are a much better team than the Raptors, until the last game when the Bucks literally got doubled. But
was that 58 points or something they lost that one? That was
pretty pathetic. Yeah. That's probably the one game the Raptors would have taken. They would have been 70 to 58 Raptors. Yeah.
So after the playoffs ended, a lot of fans were unhappy. A lot of things were said on social media, and one guy didn't take it too kindly. Surprisingly enough, it was the guy who performed possibly the worst of the team, Terrence Ross, who kind of spoke up, and he took to Instagram. He got his little iPhone out, and he had a big rant there, and he goes to all the Raptor fans in quotation marks who think we need to trade everyone or get rid of this and that. I'd like to remind y'all, technically speaking, this team is the best team Toronto ever had. And then he goes on to say how shit this franchise has been. Not in those terms, but like how this is a franchise high win total and that we're taking steps forward. Blah, blah, blah. What did you think of his rant? Do you think it was deserved? Like, some people saw it as a breath of fresh air, that he recognizes that the team didn't play well. On the other hand, people are like, yeah, dude, you kind of sucked, and you probably should spend the time Instagramming than going to gym and working on that shot and not double tapping girls on Instagram. So where do you stand on this?
It's a matter of optics, right? It's the wrong messenger for the message. I think the message is fine. I think the message is a bit condescending, but it's also just the honest truth about the Raptors.
Yeah,
this is
littered with a spelling mistake or two, but yeah.
Yeah, this is like one of the two or three best, three, four best Raptors teams of all time, depending on where you want to rank them. So I guess, and they are, I guess, playing for the fans. I mean, they do get paid millions of dollars and shit, but whatever. And yeah, you know what? I'm very happy that his mindset, at least that he thinks that he should take, is to go into the offseason and work hard and improve. And I would love nothing more than if Terrence Ross actually did that. But what we actually see from Terrence Ross is like, this is like wide chasm between what we think he can do based on his abilities versus what he actually does. All right. So this is the second straight playoffs now that Terrence Ross completely shit the bed. Right. And look, you're not exactly counting on Terrence Ross to win you a playoff game at all, but you would like to see him post a PR, something other than 7, better than 7. You know, like, what significant thing did Terrence Ross do? And also, in terms of improvements from year to year, this is his third year in the league. Yeah, I give him credit for developing into a fairly decent spot-up three-point shooter. He even had some good awareness this year to sort of shift himself and make himself open, which in the past he kind of just followed certain sets and got himself open. Now he's improvising a little bit. So that, credit to him there. But at the same time, what else has Terrence Ross improved on?
Yeah, I mean, over last year, his steals are down, his rebounding is down, his blocks are down. He has taken a step back. And yeah, I mean, a step either. No, I think he's lateral. Like, he is where he was at. Like, last year he shot like 39% from 3. This year he shot 37%. So a step back there. The only overall field goal percentage wise, he's 42% overall, 42% last year, 41 this year. So it's not like he's a terribly efficient player, or he's even doing the one thing he's supposed to be doing, which is shoot threes really, really well. Like, yeah, he shot 37%, but I think if you look back what his playoff performance was, what his performance down the stretch was, it wasn't that great. And forget about all that. He's a terrible defender. For his position, he's a horrible, horrible defender. He cannot guard his own position. You put him on point guards, he struggles with that. You almost have to hide Terrence Ross, and that's not something you should have to do with a 6'7", 6'8" wing who's supposed to be a defensive player drafted at 8th overall. That's what bugs me about him, is that not that his offensive game has stagnated, it's just that his defensive game has gotten worse.
Yeah. I think you would have liked to see him take a Danny Green type trajectory, right? I think if he developed into a Danny Green, maybe not even as good as Danny Green, but at least something comparable, I think most fans would be happy with that. He'd be a serviceable player. Whereas Ross right now is like probably one of the worst starting wings in the league.
Yeah.
And so while it's nice that he said something that is, I think, true, I think the Raptors, it's good, and we should appreciate the team a little bit more. I think we're a little bit angry right now. When we look back, when we're less angry about the season, we'll see some of the positives, and there are some of the positives.
Terrence Ross isn't one of them.
Exactly, he was not one of the positives. So you just want to see him do it rather than say it. And if it came from Amir Johnson or DeMar DeRozan,
exactly,
I think we would have treated it completely differently. The fans would have, realized, look, This is one of the most hardworking players on the team. They're going to try, and they're going to keep trying for the city. And I think everyone can appreciate that. But that's not what's happening with Terrence Ross. So.
So we haven't dedicated a segment to this talk, but Monty Williams news. We kind of talked about it earlier, but let's discuss it a little bit. Monty Williams being rumored as a possible assistant coach for the Raptors. This came after he got fired by the Pelicans, which was surprising, man, because just getting that team into the playoffs is an accomplishment in the West.
Yeah.
And after his firing, he gave a very nice interview to a local TV station. He was very humbled and Jesus and all that stuff. So now he's available. The Raptors are apparently interested in him. Monty Williams, to me, is, I'd say, a younger version of Dwayne Casey. Will am I like totally wrong on that one?
No, I think in terms of stylistically, I think they're pretty similar. I think Monty Williams might be a little bit less hard on his players, which I think is a reputation that Dwayne Casey has, but I don't think no longer necessarily applies to Dwayne Casey. I think he's sort of turned into a player's coach in terms of how he handles DeRozan and Lowry and even Lou Williams. So,
well, now Dwayne Casey is a certain player's coach.
Yeah,
I think he caters to Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan and maybe Amir Johnson, but the rest of the guys he couldn't give a shit about. But yeah, go on.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say I've watched that many Pelicans games, and say you had a ton of injuries this year, and based on what they did this year alone, I think it's pretty impressive that Monty Williams is able to lead them to the playoffs. Now, granted, they have Anthony Davis, who is like a top 5 player in the league. So winning 45 games, even in the West, even with some injuries, when you have one of the top 5 players in the league, I don't think it matters that much. But
I think those coaches with a big star player who are like kind of losing, they always get criticized for relying too heavily on that one star player. I think Chris Bosh and Sam Mitchell were kind of in the same boat as well. Same with kind of Triano, where you kind of rely too much on that one star. But I never saw that as valid criticism, and that's one of the criticism against Monty Williams is that he's just dependent on Anthony Davis. But hey, man, that's kind of what you have to do when you have that one big player early on in his career. You have to develop him, and you're going to lean on him. I don't know what you expect from Monty. What do you want him to do with Tyreek Evans and stuff on the roster? I think he's doing the best he can at that stage of that team's evolution. So I think the reason for his firing is not so much basketball wise. I think it's maybe it's some personal stuff. I have no idea. But
apparently he reportedly clashed. Well, he didn't see eye to eye with the GM, and the GM's on the hot seat. So you fire the coach before you get fired yourself.
Yeah, funny if the GM gets fired now. That'd be good. But as far as on the Raptors, I think you mentioned that it would be kind of awkward having him on the bench, former assistant coach, even though Alvin Gentry still pops around pretty much everywhere. From a head coaching perspective, I have no interest in Monty Williams whatsoever, man. Like, I don't even I think some people are kind of entertaining that idea. No, thank you. I think that would be a huge step back. As an assistant coach, maybe, but he kind of brings the same thing what Dwayne Casey does. So I don't know. Maybe it'd be a good culture fit between those two, but I don't know how much did get done. So Monty Williams, I'd say I'm in the no thanks pile for that one.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit too awkward to bring him on the bench. Just I don't know.
All right, Monty Williams.
Get like a young, smart tactician guy. Like get another Nick Nurse, basically that type. Because that seems to be all the rage, right? You got guys like Quinn Snyder, Mike Budenholzer. I guess he's not that young, but young to the head coaching gig. Brad Stevens, Fred Hoiberg, these type of guys. Like these are the guys that are really hot in terms of the coaching market right now. And I don't know, have one on the team just in case.
Yeah, and have one, as we'll talk about in a bit, somebody who's more familiar with the or more nuanced and more aware of how the new age game is being played, which is very different than
definitely.
What we're kind of segueing into Jonas Valanciunas here, listener, where Will is of the belief that Jonas is not a new age or current style or whatever you would call it NBA player. He's not suitable for the modern game, and he's of the camp that we shouldn't extend Jonas. Is that true, Will?
No, I mean, I think the Raptors might be better off moving the value that is currently in the asset that is Jonas Valanciunas elsewhere into sort of a more a piece that's more conducive to where the league is going. But at the same time, I think he's still a very valuable piece. And if the option is to A, extend him, or B, not extend him, you should still extend him. Keep the asset on the roster. I just mean, like, because he's slow defensively. He's not overly athletic either. I think maybe the instincts will come, but at least right now, he's definitely like a step slow in terms of most things that happen on the court. He's very good at one thing right now, which is you throw the ball to him in the post. It's a crude post game, but it's very effective. One of the best in the league. And honestly, the Raptors could afford to use him more there. But at the same time, he has and he can't shoot either. So, so he has limitations that don't really jibe with where the team is or where the state of the NBA is going, right? So that's why.
I hear you. I'm with you on that one. He's not, he's not a small ball five. You can't, I get it, but at the same time, he's got talent, and talent still counts a whole lot. So if you have a player who can score on opposing bigs, yeah, he's got deficiencies. He's not the greatest thinker yet. He doesn't react well to double teams or pressure, and hasn't developed, I guess, from a mental standpoint or on how he reacts to certain situations. He's still got talent. And if you can't find a way to use talent to your advantage in any NBA, genre, whether it be like today or in 1995, that's on you. That's not on the player. That's like saying Roy Hibbert he's not a new age player, but he's still Roy Hibbert. You can still make him useful. If you can't make him useful, that's your problem. That's not on the player. So if you have a chance to re-sign Jonas, you do it. And
I think so too. Yeah.
And his lack of development, his progression, in terms of reading the game, hey man, I blame him, obviously, but I also blame Dwayne Casey here, because my one criticism of that guy is that he has failed at developing Terrence Ross and Jonas Valanciunas even an iota in his time here. It's like Jonas develops, and I've said this many times, more on the international scene than he does with the Raptors. And I don't know what kind of one-on-one coaching Jonas gets, what kind of player development sessions he has on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, how he's measured, what his near-term goals are. I'm not privy to that information, but just judging by what the product is, you can't help but think this is a missed opportunity, and we're kind of wasting his formative years as an NBA player. And just like with DeRozan, I think another team will look at it and go, we can do something. We can work with this guy and get him to that next level. And the Raptors have been quite poor in that regard.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll give Casey and his staff credit for this. There was all that talk about teaching Jonas verticality, right? Teaching Jonas verticality. They said it like tons of times. And as the season went on, Jonas did get better at protecting the rim. And some of that was the verticality. So, I mean, and he did get better at rebounding. So
yeah, but
that's good.
But see, that's
but he's still pretty average for like a 7-footer in terms of rebounding. But at the same time, he's young. They have developed him a little bit, but against how much we expect him to be developed based on his talent, then yeah, I get you. He's behind schedule.
But dude, that's what I'm saying. Like this verticality thing. Like I remember this comment. Like every post game, verticality. Every post game script, he's got to keep his hands up. He jumps too much. Like they focused on this verticality thing so much that they think that is the problem. When in fact there are like other problems which are more severe than just him verticality. Who cares if once in a while he moves his hands and draws a foul, or he hits somebody really hard and goes out of the game. He does that anyways. So him just being vertical and just raising his hands up in the air like that, and listen, I'm raising my hands in the air as I'm recording this. Okay. It just means that guards are getting by him more easily because he's programmed to say, stay vertical, stay vertical. Big man comes in, stay vertical. Ignore what's happening on the weak side of the court, whether the guard might be driving in, whether you can help there. No, just stay vertical. And that's all he's thinking. You can tell that that's his radius of thinking is you got to stay vertical.
Like, how much of that is instincts, right? Like how much of that is on Jonas not being an instinctually naturally, instinctually
50-50.
clever player.
I'd say it's 50-50. I'm not saying he should be like he shouldn't be like scolded or reprimanded for not thinking right. I'm just saying that there's 50% of the game which I think he's just been not programmed well to do or not coached well to do. So I get it, man. Like it's so obvious that the guy is a step
It's
slow,
also like physically, like it's weird that they made him gain all this weight, and now he's like slow. Like he's very slow, even though he's 22.
What do you think of Gortat?
What do I think of Gort? What do you mean, like comparatively?
Like, do you think he's a modern age NBA player or whatever?
Yeah.
So how far is Jonas from Gortat?
I'd say pretty far in terms of physically, and in terms of instincts as well. But I mean, like Gortat's like 8 years deep in the league, and Jonas is I think Gortat might be like 10. Gortat's like 30, and Jonas is 22, so maybe he develops those instincts. Gortat was always a good pick and roll player, though, and he still remains that way.
So
and I
don't
think Jonas.
So was Jonas. Jonas, when he came into the league, was he was an above average pick and roll player, but that part of his game just regressed, and he hasn't gotten better because we just don't run any pick and rolls for him. We just have not developed that part of his game. And the one thing Brian Colangelo was right about is foreign big men take a while to develop. They take 5 years to develop, and I believed him on that. That's why I gave Bargnani a bit of a long leash.
Yeah. Well.
But I don't know if I'm seeing the same development with Jonas. I think he has the talent. He has the.
He definitely has talent.
He definitely has talent. He definitely has. He's not a lazy guy. He works hard. He sweats. He gets up and down. So
he's healthy.
And he's healthy. He's
That's
healthy.
That's very important. Yeah, he's only had one injury, which was his rookie season. Every rookie gets injured.
Yeah.
Right?
And yet we haven't been able to get more for him. So I gotta look at you got the player there, you got a talent, you got the effort. That before he came to the league, he played a certain style of game, which he was effective at. But in the NBA, it just hasn't happened, and it's not due to effort. So I don't know. I just think there's maybe the new assistant coach they hire can probably work with Jonas and do something. I don't know.
The unfortunate thing with guys like Jonas is this, right? Like, there's clearly a lot of talent, and you can see where that talent leads you. But you don't necessarily want to be paying players on talent, especially when you give some – because I think Jonas will probably get something close to the max, which is really like $13-14 million a year. You want a player like Jimmy Butler, who throughout the span of the rookie contract, they've proven that they are a star. They've actualized on their talent.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're getting good value for the potential in the case of Jonas, which I think the Raptors might be doing or might be forced into doing.
Yeah.
So.
All right, man.
But I mean, look, if he doesn't become faster, if he doesn't learn to shoot, then he probably isn't really an NBA, like a modern NBA center, because while he is very effective in the post, I think the post game is dying.
Yeah.
And especially because Jonas only plays in the low post. I think the high post game is still alive and well, but Jonas can't play in the high post because he needs to make quicker decisions. Because right now, when they throw Jonas in the high post, he just stands there.
And why hasn't he developed a jumper? Is my question. Like, that doesn't seem a terribly difficult thing to develop. Yet he hits them at like a ridiculously low clip, and he's still not confident to shoot them. Like, is he even practicing them, or what's going on? Like, why isn't one of his summer takeaways to develop an 18-footer? It can't be that hard. His form is decent. His form is actually it's not.
Free throws.
Yeah, he's a good free throw shooter. So why hasn't that? I don't know. There's too many variables around his game for me to kind of blame it on entirely on Jonas. Hey, let's take a quick break and come back with some NBA talk right after this. Welcome back to the final part of Raptors Weekly. Just brief playoff talk before we sign off. Game 7 we saw today, Rockets-Clippers. Very anticlimactic. The Rockets kind of blew them out from the start. Clippers made a run in the middle part of the game, but never really got close. Disappointed here for me, man, in DeAndre Jordan's defense in this game. Dwight Howard was running circles around him, and quite easily.
Yeah, which is weird because in the beginning of the series, I thought DeAndre actually thoroughly outplayed Dwight. Like something completely flipped. I don't know what it is, but this is like, we're getting to like prime Dwight. And if Houston has prime Dwight, I don't know if the Warriors have someone on their staff to stop this current version of Dwight, because he's so good defensively right now. He's literally erasing everything at the basket. And he's also quick enough, mobile enough to hedge against the Warrior shooters. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and just briefly on the series, man, when you look at the Clippers, what's their weakness? Like, where are they? Like, shooting guard? Is it really shooting guard? JJ Redick's not
it's their bench.
Yeah,
they have. I think their players 1 through 4 is really good. Matt Barnes is fine as your fifth guy, I guess. But like, look who's on that bench, man. Like, Austin Rivers is their best bench player in the playoffs. Jamal Crawford was dog shit all throughout the playoffs, except for Game 7 against the Spurs. You got Big Baby, who doesn't do anything except for take charges. You got Hito Turkoglu, who's somehow still in the league.
Yeah,
he looks more like the mask from V for Vendetta every day.
Guy Fawkes, yeah. You look at their salary situation. They had like $80 million this year, and next year they're at $71 million. So they're kind of over the cap, obviously.
Yeah, they got to re-sign DeAndre.
Yeah, and that 71 doesn't even count DeAndre. So I don't know what they're gonna do. They're probably gonna pay the tax. They got the Microsoft guy there, Bomber. So the Clippers, at least they have money to work with. So they should be able to do something, and they have some assets. I mean, if they want to. I'm not saying they're going to trade Blake Griffin or something like that, but I think Blake Griffin is somebody who could fetch you a lot on the market. I just don't know if you want to go that route.
I feel like Blake Griffin, if they're going to blow it up, they're going to trade Chris Paul and maybe DeAndre over Blake. Yeah. Blake's their centerpiece going forward.
Yeah. You think so? You think he's behind? He's ahead of Chris Paul?
In terms of future value, yeah, definitely. I think, honestly, Chris Paul, well, he was injured, so Chris Paul right now is still,
I guess, 30 years old.
Top 5
Chris
player.
Paul, yeah, I'd say that. But if you want to win now type thing, then you trade Blake Griffin. If you want to compete for the next 5 years, then you maybe take Chris Paul and you take a step back next year to come stronger in a couple of years, I guess.
You better get like Kevin Durant or I don't even know. Anthony Davis or LeBron to come back in a deal if you're going to trade Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
Because that's how much value is. This is disappointing, I can't believe they blew Game 6. And I think right there they lost that game. Like, they lost the series, because how do you come back from – they were up 19 with like 14 minutes left in the game. And then Corey Brewer and Josh Smith scored 29 combined fourth quarter points.
Damn, when I look at Corey Brewer, I'm just like, man, that's what I want Terrence Ross to be. Like, that guy. I want Terrence Ross to be him.
Corey Brewer dominates Terrence Ross every time they play. They're both like equally skinny, but fucking Corey Brewer bodies up Terrence Ross.
Yeah, so Terrence Ross, if you're listening, just look at Corey Brewer, man. Get off Instagram, check out some Corey Brewer tape, and just do what he does for the Raptors, and we'd all be just happy, and you wouldn't need to go on Instagram and like make fucking 40 typos and fucking piss off fans. The other series is that we saw was Memphis and Golden State. For me here, man, I think Memphis really hasn't upgraded their two-guard spot in years, and they just don't get enough offense out of it. I mean, you can't expect to stop Golden State. And when Klay Thompson was running those screens and getting into the paint for floaters and shit like that, I'm like, you can't really stop that. That movement is just too good. But you got to be able to score. And there was just so much pressure on Mike Conley to score, and their offense kind of stagnated. A lot of standing around. They kind of dumped it to Gasol as a last resort. That didn't work out. At that point, I was just like, you got to have somebody at the wing spot who can generate some offense for you in times like these, and there's just nobody there for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think they hoped that Jeff Green was going to be that guy, but Jeff Green is like maddeningly inconsistent, and he definitely wasn't good in the playoffs. So without him there, then they had like Tony Allen's one of their core pieces, and if they were going to defeat the Warriors, they needed Tony Allen to be there. But then he got injured, plus the Warriors adjusted against him, and yeah, I mean, like you said, the offense was definitely their issue. They didn't score over 100 points once against the Warriors.
Yeah, like it's shocking they actually won 1-2 games doing that. So
yeah, so.
Let's switch to the East. We saw the Wizards and Hawks. The Wizards had a 2-1 lead in this series, but the Hawks came back and won a couple of tight games. I guess teamwork pays off at the end here. Hawks overall, they're the better team, obviously, and the Wizards. Why did the Wizards lose this game? Like they seem to have. Yeah, go ahead.
John Wall like fractured his hand.
Yeah. But they actually won a game without him, though, which is pretty impressive.
It's crazy, yeah. They almost won 2 games without him. Paul Pierce almost hit the game winner, called series, and then Al Horford came in for the putback and beat them at the buzzer. Otherwise, they'd be up 3-1.
I just think if you play that series for 15 games, it would be over in like 13 or 15. Like I think these two teams would give you a hell of a run, man. And I think you play this exact same series again, the Wizards just might win it. So there's not much between them. And I think Atlanta that Horford rebound was so huge. And you talk about like that rebound, man. He was supposed to set a screen for Kyle Korver, and he recognized what was happening on the court, and he abandoned that and hit the glass. That's instinct. So Jonas, just like Terrence Ross has to look at the Corey Brewer videotape, you got to look at Al Horford and see what kind of instinct he displayed in that series.
I would be so thrilled. I would be beyond thrilled if Jonas could turn into Al Horford.
Right. Did you watch the Bulls series?
I did. It was not pretty.
Nah.
It's like the worst I've seen LeBron play.
Yeah, and
and he still won.
And like if you look at prior to the series, one of the X factors was can Jimmy Butler defend LeBron? And Jimmy Butler actually did a great job of defending LeBron. Like overall, that wasn't the problem. Like he scored if this was a quick reaction, Jimmy Butler got like a B+ or an A- in defending LeBron. It's just that the Bulls offense overall just did not seem to have it, and Gasol didn't seem to have it. Derrick Rose was inconsistent. Like all these pieces that kind of functioned for them in the regular season kind of got shut down. And I don't know how much the Cavs defense did. I think the two guys that you got to give credit is J.R. Smith and Shump, who I
love Shumpert on the Raptors, by the way.
Yeah, those two guys they stepped up defensively for the Cavs here.
Yeah, and offensively too. I think Shumpert was really solid when J.R. missed the first 2 games due to suspension, and then when J.R. came back, like he was huge. He was really good for the Cavs, especially in the fourth quarters, and it was like a very grinded out series. Like there wasn't that much offense going either way, but the Cavaliers could always turn to LeBron, whatever version of LeBron that came in this series. And then every time it seemed like the Bulls would have the Cavaliers solved, J.R. Smith would like randomly hit 2 threes in the fourth quarter, and the Bulls just didn't have anything to respond to that. Because what are you going to do? Like J.R. Smith is going to hit some threes. He's going to hit up Rihanna on Instagram. It's going to be good time.
Taj Gibson, man, what's his status this summer? Apparently, Phoenix is like working out a deal for him. He's available. He's there to be had. The Raptors make a play for him. What's going on there? Should the Raptors make a play for him? I guess.
I mean, maybe. I mean, if it's a short-term addition, I mean, it depends on how much they give up, right? Because he's on the last year of a deal. Yeah. He's getting paid $8 million. The reason the Bulls want to trade Taj Gibson is because if they want to re-sign Jimmy Butler to a max contract and if they keep Gibson on the books, they'll be at the tax. So they want to avoid that because Jerry Reinsdorf isn't big on spending that much money on his teams, even though he's absurdly rich. I don't know. He's interesting. I think he definitely solved a lot of the Raptors' problems. He definitely could play play defense the way Dwayne Casey would want to do it.
How old do you think he is?
28?
Yeah, he's 29. He's actually I guess he's in the peak of his career at this point. So you'd be an expiring deal. You wouldn't have to pay too much to get him, but apparently Phoenix is already like in for him, and I can see him fitting in Phoenix actually. Like he's one of those guys. He's not too big. He's their type of 4 who can kind of go inside. He's got the jumper, so I can see him fitting well in Phoenix. But at the same time, I see him fitting well with any team. He's got that versatility that any team can kind of. He's one of those guys that you can just pick off the shelf and he'll contribute to you, no doubt about it.
He's kind of like Amir, like a healthy Amir that's a little bit better defensively. Yeah.
Okay, I think we've run out of time, and it's 5 past 10, which means that you're probably missing Mad Men. So I'll let you go, Will, and we'll talk again next week.
All right, man. See ya.